Hi, welcome to this episode of Sabado Nights with StiffLu. This is StiffLu inside a Mazda BT50 pickup truck. Ito kasi ang gagamitin natin pagbisita natin sa ating guest today. Siya ang pinakapopular na photographer ng 90s music scene, ng clubbing scene ng mga 2000s. Walang iba po kung hindi si Mr. Boy Escudero. Alright! Mga kaibigan, rito po tayo ngayon sa Quezon City, Heroes Hills para interviewin ang isang legend of the 90s and the 2000s of the Pinoy music scene, Mr. Boy Escudero.
Some like it hot, some like it cold.
Basta po kayo riyan.
Yan! Mga kaibigan, everybody loves Boy Escudero. We will find out why.
Except most of them are men. The women like this guy.
Sir, you are such a distinguished gentleman in the Filipino rock scene especially. Pero I want to find out what is your history in the music business.
A few months after college,
Okay.
after getting a telegram from Philippine Airlines to report for work as a management trainee, one day on my way home, in the taxi cab, I heard Ryan Cayabyab's Telebong being played on DZRJ. It's what they call this. It's one of these Tagalog classic songs
Okay.
na hindi naman siya pop song, but he made it sound like Weather Report's Birdland.
Okay.
So,
Yes, I kind of remember that. Yeah.
So when I heard that, I have never heard Birdland pa.
Right.
So I thought that it was an original sounding and it was sung by women who just kept on repeating Telebong, Telebong, Telebong. And then it came out in his album Roots to Roots Pinoy Jazz 2, which was recorded by Gem Recording.
Right.
I got so excited because parang, wow, is this the future of Pinoy music? I wanted to be part of it. I told my wife about it, and she told me that the brother of one of her best friends in school was Leo Real, was working with Gem Recording.
Okay.
So I called him up and asked for an appointment, and then we met, and I asked him if if I could work with Gem Recording. I actually got the job of his assistant who was quitting on the 15th of January. I spent 8 months with all the artists of Gem Records. Apo Hiking Society, Maria Capra, Florante, Haji Alejandro, Jakiri.
Right. I'm curious, all of a sudden, nadinig mo lang sa radyo na turn on ka. But, do you have a musical history, like a musical family?
Nothing. When I was in grade school and I lived in San Pablo, my favorite station actually was this DZWS at a certain time because the DJ was this lady called Sonia Basa. And she would play stuff that I would not hear on the radio. That's where I first heard the Buckinghams. So I was the assistant of Leo Real, who was the manager of the entertainment division of Gem Records. The entertainment division was the management outfit of all the Gem artists.
In the 90s, up to this time, you are renowned as the photographer.
Oh.
Were you back then already taking photos?
I started to take photos when I was already managing the show band, Something Special. We had a 3-month gig in Singapore, and when we got our first sweldo, most of us bought cameras,
Okay.
and then I bought my camera. I did not know how to use it.
What kind of camera
It
was
was a Mildonta XG1 or an XGM. Manual focus, manual everything.
Okay.
Manual everything. But I did not know how to use it, so I just put it on A.
Anong year na to?
This was I managed Something Special from 1981 to 1984.
So, before Something Special, you were just basically working for Gem Records.
No, I was in Gem Records for 8 months. And then my mom found out that I was only earning minimum wage. So she told me to go home to San Pablo to work in her toy factory. But then I could only last working with my mom for 1 week. I quit and went back to Manila. I worked in the movies. My cousin Don, the late Don Escudero, was production designer. Well, he would work in the movies as a production designer, assistant production designer. And then one time he got an offer, but then he wanted to take a rest from the movies. So he asked me if I wanted to take that job, not knowing anything about production design in the movies. I said, fine, let's
experiment.
Oh, let's experiment. Oh. With my first movie, it was directed by Ismael Bernal.
Any sexy scenes there?
Si Rio Locsin was the
Alright! Well,
star,
then, okay.
with Jay Ilagan and Matt Tornillo, and then in the last scene of the movie was Sherry Hill in a bikini, and she was only something like 15 years old.
You saw Sherry Hill
In a
when she was
bikini
15.
when she's 15
Oh my God.
years old. The movie was Salawahan.
Okay.
And then my next movie was with Vilma Santos naman, directed also by Ismael Bernal. Except, in the middle of the shoot, she had to leave for the Netherlands to shoot another movie. So all of a sudden, I had nothing to do. I had to look for another job. I found one when the manager of the New Minstrels asked me to be his assistant. So I worked with the New Minstrels. They had the concert. After the show, I got an offer to work with this impresario whose name was Tony Mancuso, and he would bring in acts from the US to play in the bases.
Okay, alright.
To play in the bases.
What year was this?
This was 1979, 1980.
Okay.
I got to work with Eartha Kitt. I was able to work with the Canned Heat and some other mga country singers, crooners.
Ray Conniff, ganyan.
Well, not naman Ray Conniff, but James Last.
James
James Last. With his orchestra, his own orchestra.
Right.
The original batch of the New Minstrels, sila talaga ang nagpasikat sa New Minstrels.
Ay, yung magkakapatid.
Yung magkakapatid, that was the new New Minstrels.
Okay.
That they're you call them the second generation.
Okay, when
New
all
Minstrels.
the oldies
Oo.
left.
The manager did not like the manager, syempre mahal niya ang New Minstrels na pangalan, so he insisted that they take they continue to use the name. That is when the second generation decided to just leave the manager and form Something Special.
I see.
They got their first gig in the Century Park Sheraton.
So basically, the second generation of the new minstrels
Became something special.
became something special.
And
Fair. This is around 1979.
no, this was in 1981 to 1984.
Okay, 1981. Martial law nung panahon na yan. And you joined Gem Records in 78?
78.
78. Ano yung eksena nung araw? Kasi in 1978, ito pa yung Pinoy rock revolution. And then there was also, like you said, here comes the show bands.
The Pinoy rock scene was alive and well because of DZRJ.
Okay.
They had concerts in the rooftop. They had the New Moon concerts.
Right.
There were bands that would play in Olongapo and Angeles. Rock scene was very alive. You had bands like Akbayan, Sampagita,
Joey Smith,
Juan de la Cruz.
Right.
You had sila Boy Camera doing Jesus Christ Superstar.
Right.
You had Jackie Magno doing this rock opera called Mahal.
Right.
You know, there was that scene.
It was flourishing.
It was, well, you know, you wouldn't become a millionaire.
Right.
If you were, I guess, the record companies then were the ones making the money then. Yeah.
And so, kailan nag-umpisa itong scene ng mga new minstrels? Were they always
actually sabay because of the hotels.
Right.
Because there were all these different hotels, Sheraton, Ramada, Intercon, Hyatt, Regent.
Right.
They had all these Philippine Plaza. All these hotels had bars.
Right.
And all these bars had show bands.
Right.
So, you know, siyempre pagalingan. And then these show bands will have their own, you know, they'll have their own, talagang pabonggahan ng costume, pabonggahan ng choreography, pabonggahan ng arreglo.
Right.
You know, they'll have mga medleys, etc.
Right. So basically, even during martial law, the music scene, hotels and Pinoy rock was very lively.
During martial law, it was actually pretty decadent. Even in Mabini and Del Pilar, all the bars there were open.
So here we are, the mighty 80s. Here we are. Eto na, medyo nawawala na yung mga show bands. Yung mga Pinoy rock scene nito. Show band.
The music scene totally changed after the revolution. It totally changed.
1986.
In 1986 because Ramon Jacinto went back to the country. You know, he went back to the country and changed the format of DZRJ. He changed the format of DZRJ and made Bistro RJ one of the most popular bars in the country maybe. So because of Bistro RJ and DZRJ, namatay ang Pinoy rock because there was no more outlet for people to listen to rock. So to me, that is what happened to the music scene. Parang nawala na yung mga show band of old.
Saka ito na yung 99.5 RT.
And then 99.5 RT happened.
Top 40.
It was the station that took over RJ, although it was more pop.
Right.
During that time, medyo you could still, parang the artists of old were still fun, and then hindi pa masyadong uso ang hip hop. Although the disco thing was still thriving. No, it was still thriving in the 80s. It was still thriving. Kaya that's why
Si John Robinson.
in
Kilala mo ba si John Robinson?
in the 80s, after Something Special, I worked with this outfit called Great Performances, and we would produce shows in the Cusco where Something Special used to play.
That's in a hotel somewhere, yeah?
Yeah, this is in the
Sanctuary
Ramada.
Park?
Ramada, Midtown. We produced Tit for Tat. This is the comedy show of
Mitch Valdez?
Mitch Valdez and Annette Inventor.
Right.
Si Doña Puting.
Right.
So that became popular, and then after that, I managed the game room of Rumors Disco. It was Rumors had two sections, of the disco and the live band section.
There is a live band.
That was the game room.
You managed that?
Oh, I was the one. Well, I was the one that was in charge of all the shows that would come in, bookings.
Right.
The special shows.
Wow, this is so interesting. I never knew that you were so much involved in this whole scene. But, sir, mabalik muna tayo dun sa iyong photography. So, in 1982, you got your first camera without knowing how to use it. And then, what happened with your photography?
I just kept on. I just like to have my camera with me. If anything was in front of me that it was interesting, I'll take a picture. That's why I don't know if during the pandemic, I started to scan my old negatives and my.
Who doesn't know about your photos?
There was a period when I did not even know how to use my camera.
Okay, yes.
This was during the Something Special days. Parang that.
There were fashion shows then, di ba?
That was already in the 90s.
Okay.
90s na yun. Well, I did not know anything about photography.
Okay, so
the only time that I learned about photography was when I joined this camera club called Zone 5.
Yes. What year was that?
This was I attended the first meeting to just find out how it was like in October of 1991.
Okay.
I joined my first contest November of 1991. Twice in 1 year, you will have an out-of-town shoot. You will travel to some place, maybe Baguio or wherever, and then you just
Laging may theme.
laging may theme.
So, from 1983 to 1991, shoot ka lang ng shoot.
No, shoot lang. Naka-auto lang yan. Hindi ko alam
You
kung-
just love to document.
I just like to take pictures or whatever.
Kumbaga, if we're going to adapt it to the age of the cell phone, you were the selfie king. So to speak.
Isa pa lang. Dati, nagsiselfie na ako noon.
Ikaw pala nagpauso nun.
1991, that's when I joined Loud House also. I think it was recorded already, but then
It was scheduled for release.
We were already planning the tour.
Right. Para dun sa mga hindi nakakaalam, si Eddie Boy Escudero ang naging head ng operations ng Loud House, especially during the alert level era. We were recording it, Tropical Depression, Color It Red,
Breed.
The Breed, and the Rizal Underground. Actually, sir, may nagtanong sa akin kanina, kaya kami nagtagal, kaya ako na-late dito. Paano mo na-meet si Eddie Boy Escudero? Hindi ko maalala. I forgot.
I met you in Fire and Rain. I brought in the Jerks to play in
At Fire and Rain?
At Fire and Rain. I didn't even manage the Jerks. I just knew Eddie Rocha.
Okay, alright.
And then I see you in the wall and climb up the ceiling. And then Lee Loriano was your girlfriend. I said, wow, what a guy.
1992. So, nag-umpisa ka pa lang. Tama, I remember. Kasi kami ang pinag-practicean mo.
Tayo talaga pinag-practicean ko.
So, nag-uumpisa na yung,
Basta during the time, ever since I joined Zone 5, I got totally hooked on photography. I would spend a mint on photo books, which I would buy in Bibliar. I amassed a collection talaga of books. So talagang sineryoso ko because sa Zone 5 kasi, dun sa contest talagang kailangan mo pag-iihan eh. Kung hindi, baka may magpulit pa ng entry mo eh.
Ay, may ganon? May pressure.
May pressure talaga. And because of this, pati you really hone your vision. Parang you want to be different from everybody else.
Right.
You know, you gusto mong umangat sa... Kasi ang gagaling ng mga kasama mo eh.
So, you actually found your niche because you eventually became the photographer of all these rock and roll stars and rock and roll events.
It helped that I was a bagito photographer who loved to go to Club Dread.
Okay,
You know,
alright.
so I was managing you guys na, and then I would meet all these other bands in Club Dread, which is so near this house.
Right.
So and I got
Dito pa sa Timog?
sa Timog, Lower Timog.
Lower Timog.
Yeah.
Oh, Cubao na.
No, Lower Timog pa.
Yes, 92, no? Lower Timog.
I got to meet all the managers pa, sina Dodong, sina Poch.
Right. So, nakita mo, di ba, nung late 80s, was the time of the dawn in the rock scene. It was the only thing happening. The dawn,
The Dawn.
and identity crisis.
There were other bands that would play sina Sammy
Asuncion.
sina
Coco Jam.
Coco Jam. There were these bands like I think they were called Eurasia.
Eurasia was a reggae band ni Sammy.
And then they would play nga in Hotel California.
Nagpupunta ka rin sa Hotel California?
That's why I knew these guys eh. That's why I knew these guys. Sina Jude, sina Sammy. Chong used to play with, he was a drummer of Something Special. And then I went back, and then I joined Third Line.
So, dun sa mga hindi nakakaalam, Third Line is the management of Apo Hiking Society.
Joey Ayala.
What were you, what was your role in Third Line?
I was the guy in charge of the Apo.
Okay,
I was
road manager?
Well, yeah, something like that. I was in charge of Joey Ayala. There was one time I escorted Cynthia Patag to parang a small US tour.
So, you're part of the Third Line family hanggang nag-loud house ka. Ganun ba yun?
Basta there was a time that I was handling Joey Ayala. And then basta nagkasamaan ng loob yata or whatever with Third Line. So, naipit ako sa gitna. It was at that time that I wanted to quit entertainment na and become a photographer na lang.
Right.
Until you convinced me to join you. You were so makulit. I said, sige.
Hindi, actually, Edigo, because of your experience, you were the ideal person to handle. Kasi this is a 4-band project, di ba? And there was an album, compilation album called Alert Level, and then there was the bar tour and campus tour, and then you were also managing Rizal Underground and Tropical Depression. Somehow you really got very busy with your photography, and so you took it full time, and we.
I enjoyed all our gigs together. Pero imagine we went all over the country. Right. I even met Ina Raimundo. So parang that was ako. But then my photography was just I was starting to really get busy with my photography. I would be hired by the Inquirer, Metro Magazine.
You were covered by this time.
To shoot for them. So biglang all of a sudden, I won't be able to attend your gigs. I won't be able to attend your meetings. So I finally decided, nako, bye-bye na lang,
Right.
That's why I had my farewell gig sa Club Dread.
Teka muna, Nag-tomato ka pa eh.
That was before Loud House.
Yeah, yung doon
That was-
tayo sa Weekends Live sa Atrium.
I think that
You
was
were
before,
talking to Lee back then.
that was before Loud House.
Oh, I
because
guess-
I met because I met Binky when I was still handling Joey Ayala. I met Butch because of Runaway Boys.
Right.
I met Butch because of Runaway Boys, and then Butch got me into jazz. I asked him for compilation cassettes of jazz, just so that I will, just so that I can learn, may expose ako. Which those two cassettes changed my life. All of a sudden, I love jazz. I discovered, galing nitong artist na. John Scofield, Bill Frisell, Pat Metini. Wow, ang galing nitong mga to. NIC was
Newly industrial.
newly
Was that
industrial combo.
after Loud House or before?
That was before.
Right.
That was before.
So you met Binky and Rica Pedrosa. Right. And si Butch Saulog formed this group with Tom Colvin.
Kasama lahat kami nandun.
Right.
I was part of that. Kami ni Lee. Parang
Tomato.
tomato with an E.
Right. So, ito na yung... So that's how I found out about your
Siguro.
prowess.
Yeah.
Uh,
Although we performed in empty, but I love listening to those guys.
those guys were fabulous.
Grabe.
The newly industrialized combos.
Grabe.
Anyway, moving along. Here we are, nasa 90s na tayo. Ito na, Loud House. Tapos, yung... I remember you were covering a lot of events. You were covering the NU Rock Awards. You were doing fashion.
I shot the wedding of Doming. I shot the wedding of Chuck Isidro.
You were transitioning from artist management and production to photographer. And then, by the mid-90s, ito tayo, Rizal Underground, we were touring extensively. And then, towards the late 90s, ito na nga, you were covering various events. You were also doing a lot of artist album covers.
The album covers sort of kumonte na yung album covers ko because at this time, Pulp happened, and then all of a sudden, there were many other rock photographers that popped up. Sina Eric Leon Gorin, Tom Jefferson.
Right.
They all these guys started to come in. So,
Ikaw pala,
ako naman,
ikaw ang nagpauso nun.
ako naman, naka-discover ng wedding.
Okay.
Then I became a wedding photographer. So, that one I love because it made me a lot of money.
Yeah. So you shot a lot of weddings. Some of the most prominent couples owe their wedding memories to you. So medyo nag-inactive ka ba sa music scene or you were still doing?
Once in a while,
you do an NU Rock Award.
NU Rock Awards, or somebody will ask me to shoot the album cover. A lot of them would be parang unheard of bands.
Right.
But then, parang they just knew because I guess I was cheap kasi.
So, wedding photography, eto na yung digital photography. It's coming in, right? As the late 90s. And then, I remember having a conversation with you, Kamo, you don't do so many weddings anymore because there are so many wedding photographers. But, wait a minute. You covered the Ermita Techno dance scene. Anong year ba yan? Late 90s yan?
It started in the mid-90s. Basta there was one time I saw a flyer that said, just look for the bat signal.
Right.
It was in the National Library. And then sabi ko yata, that was the first consortium. And it was the first time that I heard electronica,
Right.
yung house music, etc., etc. And then you had all these stalls where you have tattoo artists,
Right.
you have these stores selling funky clothes,
Right.
you have gay people dressed up like angels. Parang, wow, it's such a great scene. So I enjoy that. I look forward to all these other parties, and then consortium come up with another flyer in a warehouse or in the basement of the Shangri-La, and then all different DJs. They bring all these different DJs, and then parang this new music discovery was like the first time I discovered DZRJ. Parang the rock of the
So
rock
you're
of the
relating
70s.
it to that time when you
Because
discovered
like
RJ.
parang RJ would play all this.
Pinoy rock.
No, not Pinoy rock. Rock.
Rock, yeah.
The rock of the 70s, parang Jethro Tull,
Album-oriented
Cream,
radio.
Album-oriented radio, and all these rock artists were so they all had
Nobody
their-
else played them. Diba?
They were their own personal style. That was the feeling that I had also when I discovered techno and all these parties. Parang wow, parang
What about
I love to dance. I really love to dance. So talagang awis galore ako doon, and then
and then you
and
discovered
then
ecstasy? Or...
spread the love.
Spread the love.
Yun ang pan talaga. That was the most memorable thing. Parang, and then there was this club that opened, Abby G's.
Right.
And then that was the panahunan also of Orosa and Malate.
Yes.
You had all those ones. You had chemistry and insomnia and
Parang wala nang iba yatang nakapag-document. Everybody was so stoned to document.
I was the only other photographers that were there were the professional photographers that were hired to shoot. But me, I was one of the participants who just loved to take pictures.
Right.
So I would shoot people while they were and they didn't mind because I was one of them. And then before I know it, Evian, Lucky Strike, they'd start to hire me because parang I
Because you
was
covered those events.
So I got paid to party. I got paid to
What
party.
more can a man ask for?
Exactly. Diba? So ayun, like I wouldn't believe because like I was a wedding photographer then already, full-time wedding photographer. I would be up on my feet for 8 to 12 hours shooting a wedding. But then I know that there's a rave happening in Star City. So from my wedding, I will go straight to Star City and then I will dance for 5 hours pa. Talagang, well, I didn't know where I used to get my energy. Mga early 2000s, mga 2001, 2002, it started to, parang, there were these other clubs that would come up na mga Embassy, etc. The big clubs.
BGC was being developed.
So naging kwan na parang it became a sosyalan thing.
It was a discotheque again.
So it naging sosyalan na, and
House
Techno
music.
became so parang baduy. I became very choosy with the DJs that I would go to. There were actually a lot of the foreign DJs that would come in I did not like. I would prefer the local DJs. Even that disappeared because people started to just talk.
Socialize.
It was wala nang sumasayaw, unlike before the whole
Right.
Star City is up in their feet dancing.
Right.
Until,
So this is like 2003. There.
Gandang ganun.
Do you remember what happened after that with regards to the music scene?
I just started to play tennis naman. I became very picky.
Right.
Or I would go to B-side. They would have all these bands that will play there. Sometimes there would be DJs also.
Yeah.
And I would love the DJs that would play there. Or Bad Kiss in M Cafe at a certain day.
I remember I would see you in Boracay every so often.
To shoot a wedding.
To shoot a wedding.
To shoot a
yeah.
wedding.
And then you'd come and visit Nolly and myself. You'd come to watch and have a few drinks.
But that was really because I will always be in Boracay for work lang.
By this time, how was your photography business or career going?
There was a time, siguro mga bandang 2010 na parang there were just too many photographers already, and I could not, parang iba na, parang the system of photography became so
Packaged.
that, and then for fraction of what I will want, you will have maybe 5 photographers in the deal, you know, parang, and you couldn't blame them because they were still making their name. Because photography became so easy to learn, sometimes kasama pang video. So I couldn't handle the competition.
Right.
So ayun, and then I guess that was my time was up.
Right.
But I would still have loyal clients,
Jobs here.
families, or I would have coordinators that
Are still looking for Eddie Boy Escudero.
because like there were still many couples who liked the old style of photography na yung hindi mabusisi with all the posing.
Right. Yeah, basically you make the subjects, you put them at ease actually with your friendly,
Like what I tell my couples is, I am like a voyeur.
There's a different twang there, but
I will spy on you. I will not tell you what to do. You know, once in a while, I will tell you what to do, but then that is not my purpose.
So, as you said, 2010 medyo nag-slow down. Here we are, the decade of 2011 to 2020. Of course, the last few years have been really quiet. I would still see you in every now and then, when you go out, and you've taken a liking for your cell phone photography.
Oh, that's my favorite camera. No? 2010, that's parang everybody had a camera. You go around, parang somebody had a camera.
Right.
Parang it wasn't like before na anybody who had a camera, you could tell was a hobby, a serious hobby, or who just really like to take pictures. But now, parang it was so commonplace. Everybody had a camera. Parang I didn't want to carry my camera anymore because parang I was just one of them na lang.
Right.
And I really lost my interest na. Parang to me, photography was just a job until my kids gave me an iPhone.
Okay.
And then parang, hey, this is fun.
Right.
Parang I can come up with, parang it's always with me. So parang, and then I can post it right away in the web. Easier to make selfies pa, stuff like that. Basta to me, my phone is always with me. If I see something, I'm going to take pictures. Which reminds me, I haven't taken a picture of us yet.
Well, we have videos. We have fabulous videos.
No, that is your camera. I want a picture of my own. I will.
So, you've been a photographer for most of your life, or are you dealt with the camera most of your life, and you've been through a span of the 80s, the 90s, 2000, 2010 to 2020. Let me ask you, in terms of music, which era is your favorite, you know?
It's hard to choose it was hard to choose the best because they were all instrumental in my love for music.
All right. So
The DZRJ years, I discovered rock. Up to now, I still love the music that I loved then. My Something Special years, I enjoyed that so much because this was really my first real job that took long. Parang I was working with them for 4 years, and I was responsible for the livelihoods of 10 people. You know, parang I had to look for jobs for these guys. And then with you guys, Loud House, I enjoyed my days with Loud House also. Because you know we went all over the country then,
right?
And it was really so much fun. This was the time also when I would call it the Pinoy Rock 2 era,
Yes.
because this was the time of all the Razorheads, After Image, Visual Underground,
NU 107,
NU 107, and the Rock Awards. Parang it really
galvanized this movement.
Parang that's what we don't have now eh. Parang, you know, during the 70s you had DZRJ. During the 80s you had RT. During the 90s and the early 2000s you had NU. And you know, parang you had this vehicle to promote your music.
And then, in the 2000s, eto na yung Techno, which you...
I enjoyed that also. I enjoyed Techno also, lalo na because some of our local DJs are even better than the foreign DJs that I see. They're all just hype. Actually, my biggest disappointment with the local music scene now is we have so many talented singers, songwriters, etc. But there is no venue that can, well, because like there were 6 or 7 Elements camps that I joined, and each camp had 60 participants and maybe 20 mentors. And in these camps, parang they were taught collaboration, how to collaborate with other people. Like in 1 hour, you're to make a song.
Mhm.
And some of them would come up with brilliant stuff. The number of super talents that I got to hear in those camps were talagang unbelievable. Yung Ben and Ben nga, they're...
produkto ba ng Elements yan?
Different camps lang yung different bands.
Marami actually ang nag-flourish itong I am updated because I have my 2 daughters.
Okay.
Who are 21 and 23. So
Imagine.
during their growing up years, medyo nasusundan ko yung Four of Spades is really huge, and there's December Avenue, Silent Sanctuary. There were these emo bands. Actually, yung 2015 onwards, puro emo bands. Well, I'm not surprised that you're not familiar with them kasi nga, this day and age, wala nang radio. Wala ka na,
it's Spotify na eh.
Yeah, you cannot tune into somebody's selection anymore. You can choose your own playlist, di ba? But, as a as an artist, I am happy that anybody today can record their own music in very affordable manner. Number one. Number two, you can actually release it and actually make money from it without the need of having to sign up with anyone. You know how we used to do it, Eddie Boy, bigay tayo ng demos, right? Make multiple copies of the demos and Eddie Boy, pagtulungan natin, we would shop them. Luckily, you were very connected with the scene, so you had access to all these people. But if I was a startup artist, I would love what's going on right now. Di ba? Kasi hindi ko na kailangan ng record company, pwede ako mag-release. And pwede ko ipagmalaki, pwede kong gumawa ng music video na cheap lang with a GoPro or whatever and actually publish it on YouTube. Mr. Eddie Boy Escudero, what lies in the future of Eddie Boy? Are you picking up your camera again?
Like I said, my favorite camera is my phone. I need to lose weight so that my knees won't hurt when I play tennis.
Right.
But making money out of photography, medyo if I still have clients who want to celebrate their birthdays, even if they're 80, 90 years old already, hey, I'll shoot that.
Well, I would ask you to cover my wedding.
Oh, sure.
Except I don't have a schedule yet. Pero sir, your portfolio is on your Facebook page, and everybody knows Eddie Boy Escudero as the chief documenter, photographer of this the second coming of the Pinoy rock era and of the birth of the techno era, and everybody else's wedding photos. Here you go, Mr. Eddie Boy Escudero, the legend.
Some white people, they want to be brown. Some brown people, they want to be white. Some like it hot, some like it cold. Some like silver, some like gold. Turn off the lights, take off your clothes, put away your silver, put away your gold. And who else would know? What's your color? Some like it fast, ooh, some like it slow. Some like the sun, some like the snow.
Kailan ba tayo magkakaroon ng exhibit?
I might have a book coming of my rave years.
Oh wow, that's fabulous.
Well, a little bit.
We have to. Oh no, we can do an alert level thing.
Get somebody young.
No, exhibit no photos mo. We cannot get anybody young for that.
Okay, nandyan lang yun.
Right. Anyway, to wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Boy Escudero, Mr. 90s and 2000s Photographer of the Year. All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Eddie Boy Escudero, to your wonderful stories and for the beautiful photographs of the Rizal Underground and all the other bands and all the scenesters in the 90s and the 2000s. Maraming salamat sa iyo, Eddie Boy, at maraming salamat din sa ANC Plus Group of Companies and Mazda Quezon Avenue for lending us the Mazda BT50 pickup truck. All right.